Hey guys, Future Perry here. Just wanted to start off by saying thank you for watching the podcast. I really appreciate you guys watching these first couple episodes. Expect them to be on Spotify pretty soon when I can figure that out. But yeah, I just wanted to announce that this is going to be the last episode of the podcast for a little bit. At the end of phase one, if you want to call it that. The point of this podcast was just to kind of get content out there while I'm in between planning and production on my YouTube videos for this year. And now that I'm starting to ramp up the production on my next couple videos, I wanted to ease up a little bit on the podcast, or actually stop working on the podcast. This is going to be the last episode for a little bit. I'll still be recording, but like in terms of editing and getting them out there, I'm going to just stop that for a little bit. Just to focus on my YouTube videos. So yeah, expect like phase 2 to come out, and let's say late spring 2023, early summer 2023. I'm still kind of figuring this out as I go along. Whenever I'm like, in the planning period of making my YouTube videos and actually production YouTube videos, that's when that will happen, and I'll let you guys know when those episodes will come out on my main channel. I also might make some random like shorter or longer depending on how the subject matter videos and like movies are coming out with some of my friends if we decide to watch them at the same time. But yeah, expect those out whenever I announce them, I guess. And yeah, thank you to everyone who already participated in the podcast. Sam, Yensid, Crystal Omega, Justin, and Abby in this episode. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this and collaborating with me and talking about stuff on my podcast. And to everyone who already agreed to do the podcast in the future, look forward to working with you guys for phase 2, excuse me. And yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you guys later. Bye. You ready?
Ready.
Okay, I gotta use my voice acting voice. All right, I'm gonna use the techniques you taught me. I forgot the technique. You told me to do like to say it in a weird way. We got time for that, but like I remember that's one of the things you taught me. Anyway, I'm sorry now. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Everything's Better with podcast, where everything's better with the people I talk to. I'm your host, ADP3, aka Perry. In each episode, I talk to a different friend of God and fellow content creator about topics that interest us. Today, I have a very special guest, Abby B. That's her name, but I call her Abby. She is a Twitch streamer and a voice actress, but I'm gonna let her introduce herself and maybe plug any of her stuff. So Abby, if you want to go and do that.
Sure. Yeah. So my professional name, I'm not in the guild, so who knows if it will change, but I'm Abigail Johnson. I am on social media as Abby B Gamer. That's ABIBEEGAMER. And come watch me on Twitch. I am very infrequent, but that is how I know this lovely person.
Yeah, thank you. I think you're lovely too. But yeah, so yeah, just going into how we met. So me and like she said, like Abby said, we're both on Twitch. I actually started off on Twitch before I got into YouTube. I know most of you guys know me for like my boys video on YouTube, but before that, I streamed on Twitch, and I actually was playing I think either Horizon Zero Dawn or God of War because I was trying to do like a top 10 PS4 list that will probably never see the light of day because that's a dated concept since the PS5 has been out for a while. But I saw that Abby was actually playing either God of War or Horizon Zero Dawn. We talked about it before we started recording. We don't remember which one, but I gravitated towards her stream. She seemed like a really cool person, and she was also a voice actress, which is something that I also was interested in. I'm a huge nerd for voice actors. I grew up with looking up all the cartoons and stuff like that, and like just looking up who voices who, and I just love that world. And I found out she was in that world. She was interested in that world, and she actually helped me with some of my videos. Yeah, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I remember, but yeah, so I guess I will say about my voiceover experience, I'm still new at it, but I am represented by RSA, which is great. But there's like, if you look at IMDb, I only have a special thanks for some silly video someone made in college. But yeah, no. So Perry here, like he said, was on stream as a viewer and was talking about his videos, his analysis, which I love watching analysis videos. So I think it's cool. And it was cool because, when you have any chance to talk, I'm not doing a great job of it now, but you want to think about, okay, it's silly because every day you talk to people, if you have that gift. And you don't think about it, God, my mic is slipping. You don't think about how, you enunciate or how clearly you're speaking. But when you're doing an explainer video and such, or, talking in a voiceover commercial or whatever, it is different, I don't know. I'm losing my mind. But that is something I helped Harry with. And I think that was really cool because he can go into it a little bit more, but he explained having not that experience of having people help him with that, and that was really sad to me.
Yeah, and no, we're both in a Discord server with the voice actors. I think it's a voice actor guild. I think I don't know if you know what's his name, Connor CWA. Do you know who that is?
I mean, it's possible. I told you, everyone, I'm really bad with names.
You're good. He is a YouTuber. He's well known for right now Trash Taste, but before that, he would make voice acting videos analyzing like different voice actors. He's a guy that's like voice actor reacts to like good voice acting, bad voice acting. You probably heard of him, but anyway, it's a very big voice acting Discord server. A lot of voice actors go in there. I think the actress that played Samus did an interview in there. I'm blanking on her name. Yeah. Jennifer Hale, I think that's her name.
Yeah.
But sorry, I'm going on a tangent. But I asked if they can like help me because like people put in their voice clips all the time to get advice and all that stuff, and I asked them to give me some advice on one of my earlier YouTube videos, and they were like, "Why are you like putting your video essay in this? You're just talking, you're just reading the script, not acting." And I was like, "Well, yeah, but." I have to like make it sound interesting. Is there a way I can make it sound more interesting? And no one was willing to help me. And I told Abby this on one of the Twitch streams, and she actually, did we have a voice chat that later on that day or something like that, or did you just tell me? Yeah, like she gave me some tips on how to like better enunciate my words and like just how to read it with more inflections, how to make it more sound interesting. And even though I don't think I sound amazing on my videos, it was enough for people to think I know what I'm talking about. So Abby's definitely a huge contributor to that, and I really appreciate her helping me out with that.
Well, to add on to that, I think it's interesting that was the response you got because, I mean, through my agent, I've received not just like YouTube explainer videos or whatever, but also other like bigger companies, but that they post on YouTube. And so they're going through an agency to get talent to read. So I just think that's silly, not to knock anyone down, but it is a skill, and you want to, when you're reading, as I'm sure you've noticed, like you want to be engaged. You don't want to just read it flat, like when you're in grade school and you have to read out of the book in turn, the people who are like, oh, and on page 73, I don't know, mitochondria, versus someone who is a little bit more engaged with it, you'll pay more attention. So.
Right. Yeah, and like people have already told me that I had a naturally like I guess announcer or narrator style voice, but my enunciation has always been really bad. Excuse me. But yeah, you definitely helped me with that, and it is something they didn't take me seriously. But like I don't really hold them. I never really got mad at them or like held it against them because I'm not really. I'm playing an exaggerated version of myself, but it's not really acting. It's just like I am. Just reading an essay essentially, but the way you told me how to read it and your suggestions really helped me get in that mindset. Because there are some video essays, and they're not the other people down, but there's some video essays, even more popular ones, video essayists or YouTubers that make video essays. They don't sound very engaging, even though they have a lot of people watching them. And I didn't want to sound like that. I want to, and I usually talk in a very monotone voice. I'm talking like normally, but I want to make sure that I emoted at that I was engaged with what I'm saying, that I'm not just reading the same lines and the same inflection and all that stuff. And you helped me think about that constantly as I was reading lines. And I feel like my voice reading and I guess voice acting has gotten better because of that. So
that makes me happy.
Yeah, and I guess switching gears to our next topic, which kind of goes in line to like what we were talking about, voice acting in general. Like why did you get into that craft? Like, what about voice acting fascinated you to get into this job?
Do you want the long, convoluted answer, or do you want the short, more succinct answer?
Whichever one is entertaining for content.
So I guess I'll start with when I was young. I have always been a performer, and it was not something that was really cultivated through my upbringing. So, I sang as a kid. I played the piano. And for various reasons, I kind of stopped singing and sang in college, which was great. But I always wanted to act and was not able to because... I mean, I guess it's fine. I grew up with very strict parents here at Christian. And
right.
So because of it, I couldn't perform on Friday nights or Saturdays. And so I was like, I could never actually get into show if I even did well enough. So it just kind of was something in the back of my mind, like internally, I want to act, I want to perform. And so I guess it was 2020. Actually, 2019, I had quit my job for the December 31st, unbeknownst to me what would happen in the world. So I got a severance package, which was really great. And I was like, I'm going to take some time off to just better my mental health and just whatever and explore something. And I live in Los Angeles, so there's just a multitude of things you can try. And a friend years ago was like, oh my gosh, try improv with me. And I'm like, I'm not a comedian. I'm sometimes funny, but that's not me.
I think you're pretty funny.
Thanks.
I've seen your Twitch streams.
And I have tried improv. I mean, I've taken improv, but I had asked an actor friend.
Really hard.
Actually, I was watching Kipo, the Age of the Wonder Beast, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And I was just like, wow, this is incredible. And it was just, because I wasn't doing anything else. I was just parroting lines or like listening muted and like practice voices. And I was like, I could do this maybe. So I asked a friend who was an actress about how does one get into voice acting. And she's like, well, take classes, see if it's for you. So she got me connected to David Babish. He does teach classes. You can go online and check him out. I think it's Voices LA. But I can tell you for sure.
Sorry, who's David Babish?
David Babish is a on-screen actor. He does a lot of like a character actor, but he also does voice acting. So he's done like motion capture for video games, but like smaller roles.
Can you give me an example? Give me an example.
I think he was in. I want to say he was in Mirror's Edge. I can look it up.
Babish, Bibis.
David. It's David Babich. And then
okay.
If you do want to check out him for classes, it's voicelosangeles.com.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
His face looks familiar. He has a very familiar looking face.
He's been doing a lot of stuff on screen too.
Cool.
And so I took this is before lockdown, I took a in-person intro to voiceover. And then as soon as I stepped into the booth, I was like, this is everything I want to do. I never want to leave the booth.
No.
And then it just kind of went off from there. That was a long answer. Cool. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. And that was a very appropriate answer for content. I think that'll help me out a lot. But I don't have a similar story, but I have always liked the idea of acting. Like I also grew up in a very Christian household, but my church would do plays. Mm-hmm. And I always loved to act in plays. I always liked to, play pretend I was like a different character and things like that. But I never actually pursued theater like ever. Mm-hmm. 'Cause so I think high school would have been the prime time for me to actually start acting.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really because of marching band. I was in marching band for 4 years, and that literally took up all my time. So much to the point I didn't think I had time to do anything else. So the acting in theater never really crossed my mind, even though I was very passionate for it. Mm-hmm. And that passion came from, just like I said earlier, just looking up voice actors and like seeing how people can just change their voices and like become this new character, but also at the same time. And I just was obsessed with the idea. I would do impressions of like different video game characters or cartoon characters when I was little and record it. They were all pretty bad, and I don't even know where they are, but Yeah, no, I always love doing that, and I actually did try to audition for a role for a High School Musical play we're doing in junior year, but I couldn't do it because I had to do something for band, so that further like shied me away from ever like really acting in theater. Nowadays, the college I go to, which is Clemson, I think I've been vocal about that. They're not a art school, that's mostly a science school, or science technology school, and their theater program isn't the best. But I have started acting a little bit in my film club. I did one film role that I could think of for like one of the little skits we did. That's the only acting role I did. Everything else I've either like directed or consulted.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of my history acting, and of course, I guess like I act a little bit in my YouTube videos, and that's kind of how I started practicing, like we said earlier, just the craft, like making my voice sound interesting and making sure I'm inflecting all that stuff. So I guess I practice a little bit of voice acting in my YouTube videos. But yeah, no, like the reason why I love voice acting, I think you're the same way, is just we love the idea of performance. I think we admire a lot of voice actors, which we'll get to in our next segment. And yeah, no, like the voice acting is just it's a very cool craft, but it's also very like niche and hard craft to get into. And it's not something that like anyone can do. Like an actor, a live action actor has their own set of rules. Like you have to emote your face, you have to emote your voice, and like with your body and all that stuff, making sure you're telling the story with everything that you have. Voice actors, you can only do that with your voice, and that's both easier and harder to do, because instead of using all the tools at your disposal, your facial expressions, your body posture, and your voice, you're just using your voice to emote everything about your character.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a little bit harder to do, and a lot of very talented like live action actors aren't the best voice actors, because that's like a hard craft to do. Like I can't think of any off the top of my head right now, but I know there's a multitude of live action actors. Let me think. The guy that played Bucky in The Winter Soldier, you probably don't know him.
Yeah.
Luke Abbott? No, wait, what's his name? Hang on.
Gosh, I know. I know who he is. Like I said, I don't know names, but I know faces.
Yeah. His name is Sebastian Stan.
Yes.
That's the actor's name. I feel like there's a Marvel cartoon on Disney Plus called What If, which is like basically like what if scenarios of like stories that happen in the MCU, and all the actors that played those characters in the MCU voice. It's a cartoon, I should have said that. All the actors, well, most of the actors that play characters in the MCU voice acted as their characters. Sebastian Stan came back to play Bucky Barnes in the cartoon. He was probably one of the standouts that didn't really sound like he was all into that performance, and like that's just an example of like a live action actor. He's a pretty decent live action actor. I haven't seen any of his other work because I need to watch more movies, but he's a decent actor. But like his voice acting role wasn't very strong in that particular incident, and I think a lot of people notice that too. But that's just one example of many. Of like just it's just hard to get into, and there's a couple of standouts. Like I think Tom Hanks, Samuel L. Jackson. You also have people like Alan Tudyk, he's a live action actor, but he's been doing a lot of voice acting recently. I don't know if you've seen the Harley Quinn show.
I saw a little bit. My sister watches it, and it's pretty good. He's like red hair. He was in Firefly.
He might have been. But in Harley Quinn, he plays the Joker and Clayface.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, like there's and of course the OG Mark Hamill, like he's probably the best example of a live action actor that is also a really good voice actor.
Yeah.
So there's definitely exceptions, but most live action actors aren't the best voice actors, because that's something they're not used to, and that's probably. Do you agree with that, or?
No, I do, and my agent was talking to me about it. Something I find interesting, and I'm noticing this too, is we were going over some of my old auditions, and she's like, for commercial. And just to go back, David Babish does a lot of commercial voiceover.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So, no, so she was like, I feel like you were rushing this to get to somewhere. And I was like, yeah, I was. And like, you know, I thought it sounded good, but I was also like, you know, this is also when I was really new to it. I was like, oh, you know, it's just so interesting about, because you're only isolating the voice, you can hear, you know, when you're distracted or when, you know, it just picks up so much. And so you have to almost, it's like when you do stage acting, you have to overdo it. You wear too much makeup, you over project, you know, it's not something you would do if someone's just standing right in front of you with a camera. So I think that's why it's a little bit different. I have heard that people who have experience with theater acting can be really good to go into voiceover, but they also have to learn to tone it down because of the levels for the audio engineers.
I've also noticed a lot of. I've noticed a lot of. I was just going to agree with you. I noticed a lot of great voice actors that start off in theater. I think the late Kevin Conroy. He actually started off as a theater actor before he did Batman the animated series, and I was watching one of his interviews before, like back in the day when they were like the show was still coming out, where he actually didn't know a lot about Batman.
Yeah.
And he did the audition. I think his agent said, hey, like they're doing this Batman thing. You know, do you want to do it? And he was like, sure. And he nailed it. And now he was one of the most iconic Batman we've ever gotten. So yeah, that's I agree. Like a lot of voice actors are theater kids. But speaking of voice actors, so in this next segment, me and Abby are going to go back and forth and like just talk about some of our favorite voice actors. And let me go ahead and start this timer, so we're not going off the walls. But yeah, I guess Abby, do you want to go first and say you're like just talk about one of your actors and like why you like them, the actors or the characters that they played and all that stuff, and I guess just talk about them. I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess I'll start with, let's see. Well, I think it goes without saying, Laura Bailey. She's incredible. So for those of you who don't know her, she's really well known to people who don't know voiceover because she's on Critical Role. And she also is the voice of Abby in The Last of Us 2.
The infamous Abby.
The infamous Abby, which I thought she was great. I just think
that's another discussion.
And then also, like, I'm currently watching Fruits Baskets, the remake, which is a lot better than the first one. And she's
is that controversial?
No, I don't think so. I think the second one follows the manga much closer.
Got you.
Yeah. And so, yeah, like, but she does all these incredible voices and just becomes a new person. And I know who the face behind the voice, but when I'm watching her as Toru, I'm like, what? She's this teenage girl who doesn't know how to do anything? It's wild. So definitely just someone I want to like continue to grow so I can be as close as, if not, develop my talent like her.
Yeah, and going back to Abby, I don't know how you feel about Abby, but I thought she was a great character. And regardless of how you feel about Abby, she definitely earned that voice actress award that year. I think it was the Game Awards 2020, which I talked to one of my friends actually about my thoughts on The Last of Us winning that year, but that's another podcast episode.
I was like, I want to know.
But yeah, no, I'll just go and tell you. But I just didn't agree with it winning. I love the last, or I like The Last of Us Part 2. I think it's a great game. But I don't think it should have won Game of the Year. I think a Game of the Year winner should be a game that everyone universally enjoyed. So like Ghost of Tsushima or even Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Wow.
Yeah, but no, she definitely nailed it as Abby. She put her foot in that voice, and that's that acting, I guess, that voice acting. But I don't know if you saw the her filming the final confrontation between her and Ellie on Twitter, but that was insane. Like I was like hyperventilating for how much she how much effort she put into that fight scene alone.
Yeah.
And like just how she like threw herself at that role with like all that fearlessness and all, just everything any great actor would do, like, Leonardo DiCaprio or person that played Ripley. She's a very famous actor. I should know her name. In Alien.
Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver. I should know who that is. But yeah, no, like she basically approached like any other like live action role, and I really admired that. And like of course she's in a lot more video games than anything else. Like she was Mary Jane Watson in Marvel Spider-Man. She was Nadine Ross in Uncharted.
Yep.
What else? She was Lucina in Lucina in Fire Emblem, and also in Super Smash Bros.
Yeah, and she did. I know, like when she started out, she was she was in Texas doing a lot of Funimation, and I hear people who work there, because it's just such fast turnaround. It's almost like voice acting boot camp, and so I think that's where she was able to really get this background, like this foundation. And I'm like a little jealous of it, but it also sounds really grueling.
For sure. Yeah, but and I guess you really have to grind to get to the status that she's gotten, because now she's like she's probably more well known now than she ever has been with that Abby role alone. So she's probably gonna get put into a lot more roles because of that. She's kind of like what's her face? She played Aloy in Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes, I see her face. I
don't. Hang on, I should know who this is because I love her. Hang on, Aloy Horizon Zero. I'm going to have to do a lot of editing. I might just keep this in, honestly. I'm kind of lazy with editing this podcast.
Ashly Burch.
Ashly Burch, yeah, she's great. I love her. And she's in a lot more roles. I think she had to start off as a YouTuber before she started voice acting. Or no, she was a video game writer or something like that before she started getting into voice acting. So I think Laura Bailey is going to be on her status pretty soon. Or actually, she is now because, Abby. But, so my first voice actor I want to talk about is actually a cartoon. He's mostly known for cartoons. Tom Kenny. Pretty famous voice actor, if you don't know who that is. He's the voice of SpongeBob, the Ice King. He plays Spyro in the Spyro games. He's the mayor and the narrator in the Powerpuff Girls. Very high profile voice actor in a lot of things. And the reason why I want to talk about him first is because I think he's the first voice actor that I've grown to appreciate. I actually used to hate his voice because, funny story, I would watch reruns of the Powerpuff Girls and Dexter's Laboratory, and I would always hear the same person voice all the characters. I'm like, why can't they get another guy to voice like Random Citizen 3? Like, why does it have to be the same voice as Random Citizen 2? Like, can they not get other people to voice these characters? And I realized, I looked him up. I was like, why is Tom Kenny all this stuff? And I realized, he's just a really good voice actor. And he has a lot of range, too. Even though his voice isn't really... I mean, his voice is distinct, but if you have a careful ear, you can definitely hear who the voice actor is. Because, like, he like I said, he's the Ice King. But he's also SpongeBob. But both those voices are very different.
Yeah.
They sound similar, but they're very different. He has very different inflections with how he approaches both those characters. And that's kind of what I admire about his voice, particularly SpongeBob. SpongeBob has a very iconic voice, and everyone knows who SpongeBob is. He's up there with Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny, and I feel like unlike Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse, those voices are very easily imitated. Like the Mel Blanc and Walt Disney, when they voiced those characters, they did a good job with those voices, but it was a very those are very generic voices. SpongeBob is different because SpongeBob's voice is very much Tom Kenny. Like, when I hear SpongeBob's voice, I hear Tom Kenny, but it's like his is basically Tom Kenny with his doing a falsetto or whatever like that. So whenever Tom Kenny does eventually retire, whoever they replace with SpongeBob is not going to sound the same, because SpongeBob is so much ingrained in Tom Kenny's voice that I think people are going to kind of be turned off by it, which that's probably a future problem for Paramount and Nickelodeon when they get it on the line. But I just think that SpongeBob's voice I admire because he puts so much of himself in that voice, and but that's, I guess, Tom Kenny for me. Do you have any thoughts on Tom Kenny or?
So I didn't really. I'm gonna make people mad. Don't hate me. I didn't really watch SpongeBob. It wasn't really for me, I guess. I think I was a
That's
little bit
fair.
too old. Not really, but mentally I was too old when it came out. So I was like, oh, it wasn't. And but yes, I do remember in a lot of other things. I didn't realize, I played Spyro, Adventure Time. I also was really late to that too. But no, I mean, he's really great. I do think it is interesting I mean, he did make such an iconic character, but so is, I do, like you said, Mickey Mouse is as well. I think that, I don't know. I guess that there's nothing wrong with making a character voice that is easily imitatable. But
there's nothing wrong with that.
I think what it is, I think the difference between, say, Mickey Mouse and like SpongeBob is possibly writing has changed over time. So I think too, like, it was a little bit flatter, like the dialogue that needed to be written, and SpongeBob is so dynamic, and so I think that might lend to also this feeling, but also nostalgic, right? So like you grew up with SpongeBob, not that we all didn't grow up with Mickey, but I mean, I presume you watched more SpongeBob than, say, Mickey or Bugs Bunny, but I did kind of.
I probably knew Mickey more than SpongeBob, but because I actually couldn't watch SpongeBob a lot when I was little. I could watch him when I was like being good, but whenever I misbehaved, I couldn't watch him. So I'm probably more familiar. I was probably did grow up more with Mickey than SpongeBob, but I have a better appreciation for SpongeBob now because he's actually like a character. But but go ahead. Sorry.
But no, I feel bad. Like, he is a really great voice actor. I just don't consume a lot of works that he has been in. So
got you.
I really
and you're more into anime and video games and stuff, so that makes sense.
Yeah. But no, I mean, he's great, and I think. Unfortunately, I don't have anything to add to it. Also, like with Spyro, like that, I think that's the most I've consumed of his body of work. Is like, I guess Spyro talks, but I never really like, I just really jumped around and did the thing, so I didn't really pay attention at the time when I was playing. I don't think I was really cued into voice acting.
Yeah, and I never played a Spyro game before, so when I found out that he was in Spyro, I was very surprised. I didn't know he did video games like that, so and Spyro is pretty iconic too. Like he, everyone knows I don't know if everyone knows who Spyro is, but I know a lot of my friends who grew up playing, who was in that era of video games, knew who Spyro was, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. But do you want to go ahead and say your next voice actor or actress?
Sure. Let me look at my list. Please cut this out. Let's see. Okay. Let's talk. So I mentioned her at the top of the episode. I talked about Kipo in the Age of the Wonder Beast. So the character that I just really got drawn to was the girl who played Kipo, or the main character, and she's played by Karen Fukuhara, who plays, I think it's the girl in The Boys.
The girl, yes.
Yeah.
And I love her. She has an actual name, but I forgot it, and I should know her name because I did that Boys video essay. But let me, while you talk about it, I'll look up the name.
I don't know her name because I didn't watch enough of The Boys after season 1 because it got.
Well, it's such a great show. Why haven't you seen The Boys?
It's so violent.
But it's so good, and I made a really good video essay about it. You should watch that too.
I literally could not get past the first minute of the second season. I was like, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not for everyone. I totally agree.
I think it is funny though. Just an aside, I play some really violent video games, but watching violent shows is just really difficult. So. I don't know. Yeah,
no, I totally understand that. Yeah, no, you're totally good. And the character she played was Kimiko. That's the character's name.
Yeah.
Kimiko.
So
yeah.
I guess when I was watching this, I guess this is when I really cued into the first time that I really cued into what could she be doing talent wise, behind the booth, the inflection and and I've watched other actors, and I'll talk about them later. But I've seen live videos of people in their performance, and I don't know. But I think this is the first time I really paid attention, and she just brought such wonder and excitement to this character. And not that no one else does, but like I said, this was the first time I was like, oh, this is what I want to do, and she's doing such a great job. And when I think about it, when I think about her, I just smile inside. It's just really. It's a really nice feeling.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, no, I don't think I have an actor that I have actors that inspired me, but I don't think I've related to or latched onto a character in particular. I could probably think of one if I really tried. I don't think because I definitely have latched onto actors and characters that voiced that actor before. I just can't think of a good example right now. But
Sure.
I've heard I haven't seen Kippo, but I've heard good things about it. So I'm gonna have to check that out. But yeah, no, Karen Fukaria, is that say her name right?
I think it's Fukuhara.
Fukuhara, yes. Maybe. I admire her work. I mean, she was great as Kimiko. I think she definitely is one of the better actors on that show because she's completely mute, which is kind of the opposite of what we're talking about because she doesn't use her voice at all. But she's definitely a good actress. But I've also seen her YouTube channel where she has a YouTube channel where she interviews people in The Boys, and she seems like a really cool person. I need to definitely watch more of her stuff. And she has a very nice voice. I'm sure she, like, just hearing how you're talking about her and how she approached the role of Kippo. I'm sure she did an amazing job. So you guys got me curious to watch that show. Nice. You need to watch more kids cartoons. Because I don't know. So, this is going on a tangent, but I feel like I both kind of grew out of kids cartoons, but also still like to watch them because I want it to be I want to create my own show. I've always wanted to create my own show or my own kids show when I was growing up, and so it's kind of cool to see other people do it and like see like their thought process doing that. So like for example, I grew up with Gravity Falls, and that was definitely a show that I grew up with. Literally, like I was literally the same age as Dipper and Mabel when that show came out, and I literally grew up with. Well, they didn't grow up in the show, but I was. Yeah. That was a show that I latched onto because I related to the main characters. Whereas now with like the Owl House and Fabe, I don't know if you watch those shows. Those are both great shows and both made by people that work in Gravity Falls. I still recognize that they were great shows, but I don't get as much out of them because I'm not the age group or age demographic of those shows. Even though they're for all ages. Like you can watch it as like a 50-year-old and still enjoy the show, but the lessons that they learn, like I've already seen them before Gravity Falls or other shows, and like the main characters are they're the age demographic of the show, so it's like I can't really relate to them. I can recognize they're great characters. I can recognize like the voice actresses and actors that are doing a good job. I can recognize that, but I can't like really latch on to them. But at the same time, I like supporting show creators of kids shows because I wanted to be in that role. So
can I ask you a question then? Is what do you, and I find this an interesting question for anyone, like what do you find, like what do you gravitate towards when you consume anything like video games, anime, and such?
So that is a good question. I don't really have like a particular genre or like niche I like. I just kind of go to anything that I hear is good. So like for example, I'm not really huge into horror, but if I hear that a horror show or movie is good, then I'll watch it. Hereditary is a good example of that. I heard that movie was like good, even though it was like a horror movie, and it terrified the crap out of me, but it was a good movie, so I'm glad I watched it. So I really I gravitate towards things that have like, I guess, good stories or good characters. Which is very generic and that kind of makes me a little basic, but that's kind of what I gravitate towards mostly, if that answers your question. But no, like I'll and that's kind of also why I still watch like kids shows, because most kids shows nowadays are getting higher quality. We're long away from the days where kids shows were just like for toys, like with the Transformers or even Ninja Turtles. I think Ninja Turtles had some good episodes in the 80s, but now like people are actually putting effort in the writing and the characters and stuff like that. So that's why I can like see past some of the like the kid fluff, because I can like actually latch on to the writing and stuff like that. So that's kind of why I still watch kids shows, even though I'm not the age demographic for them anymore. But
that's fair.
Yeah. But I think, did you have anything else to say about Karen Fukuhara? Fukuhara, God.
No, I don't. I just, if I ever get to meet her, I hope I don't fangirl too much.
Yeah, no, she's she's like a really good person. I would love to meet her too. Yeah. Okay, so my next person is a voice actress. You probably heard of her, Cree Summer.
Yes. She was so many things, but Susie, right, from the Rugrats.
Yeah, she was. Wait, is that her name? Yeah, Susie. Yeah, she was Susie from the Rugrats. She's also Elmora Duff in the Tiny Toon Adventures, and she's also the niece of Go Go Gadget.
Oh yeah,
Inspector Gadget. Penny. Yeah, she was. That was actually her first role, which I thought was interesting because she's African American woman who's playing a white. I guess she's also playing
especially at the time,
like a white. Yeah, it was interesting. But the reason why I added her to her list because she was also in a show called A Different World, which have you heard of that? You've heard of that?
I watched it when I was to date myself. Yes.
You watched it, yeah. My parents also watched that show. I'm sorry if that makes you feel old.
No, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, but no, we were watching it a couple months ago, and I didn't realize Cree Summer was in the show. And it was really cool to like see because I grew up with that voice. Like she's in Codename Kids at Store. She was in she was Susie. What else was she in that I've seen?
She was Princess Kita from Atlantis. Oh my gosh, I love that movie so much.
Yeah, she was Max in Batman Beyond, which I've seen that. I love that show. But yeah, no, she. I grew up with her voice, and it was really cool to see her in this live action role. And she was actually really good, and she's very talented. And I just think it's kind of cool that we have, as a woman of color. I'm sure like this world isn't very. It isn't as open as it. Well, excuse me. Diversity is starting to get better now, but back then it definitely wasn't open to everyone, which is unfortunate. But it's cool to see this African American woman be in all these very mainstream shows and like pretty much be rubbing elbows with like all these other high profile voice actors and actresses. And she's been around for a really long time. Like her first role was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like that's insane to me. And she's still doing stuff like she's in the Rugrats reboot. She's as Susie, she's still playing that character. She's also in the Powerpuff Girls Power Family reboot. Bufferina, that's the name. She's also in Legends Vox Machina, which do you know what that is?
I do.
Yes. Yeah. You play D&D, so you watch that show. I don't watch the show.
So for those who don't know, it's the Critical Role. It was a Kickstarter. I think it made 15 million on Kickstarter or 11. It was something wild. And you can watch it on Amazon Prime. It's really good.
Yeah,
really violent too.
Yeah. Actually, I just want to talk. Have you seen Invincible?
Also, too violent for me. I hear it's great.
It's really good. Yeah, I think it's made by the same animation team.
Maybe.
Is it? It looks like the same animation. But anyway, yeah. But no, she's been in the voice acting stream and in the acting scene for a really long time, and it's just really cool to see that. She's also gonna be in Ironheart. Oh wow! Do you know what Ironheart is? Like I do. Yeah. So she was. I guess if you haven't seen Black Panther, she was in. Ironheart is a character in the comics. She's basically Tony Stark, but she makes. She's an African American girl that makes suits similar to Tony Stark in the comics, and she was in the newest Black Panther movie, and she's getting her own show, and apparently Cree Summer's gonna be in it. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so she's been around for a long time, and she's pretty much, I guess, defined the typical constraints of Hollywood norms back when it was very hard to, for people of color to get into those roles. So that's pretty cool. And she's also a very fantastic voice actress. Like she's done a lot of iconic roles that I can't even name. Like I'm on Wikipedia right now. She's done like too many for me to even like she's a great voice actress. Do you have anything to add to her?
I mean, I did remember, sometimes like on Nickelodeon they would show, right? That's what, they would show the actors recording, and I too was like, whoa, this is a woman of color. That's incredible, because it's for those who haven't seen me, I am a Black and Asian woman, and so so it was just really incredible. She's also just seems so cool, and so how she like uses that coolness in her voice, but for all these different characters, is just really, it's really intriguing.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Like, no, I agree. Like I can't describe her voice, but like she has like a certain like tone in her voice that like you can tell when that is her, but it's also like it's different for each character that she approaches it with, and we'll talk about other voice actors who have this essentially the same voice, but they approach the character differently. But she's one of those actresses that has like a similar voice, but every time she has a different role, it's like a different version of that voice. So I admire that as well. And like you said, she has a coolness about her that it's very like it rubs off her. Like, you know, you feel kind of like warm and comfortable whenever you hear her voice, unless she's playing like a bad guy and you feel the opposite, which is what a good actor should do. So yeah. But yeah, do you want to talk about your next actress or actor?
Sure. Oh gosh, I should have had it prepped up.
No, you're good.
Let's see. I think this is. Hold on, I want to make sure. Because there's this person I had lined up and I didn't write it down. So, of course, I didn't. I mean, if you want to go next, I can also.
Okay. Yeah, I can go next. So, the next person I want to talk about is Rob Paulson, who he's actually a personal favorite of mine. But besides some outdated stuff that he might have said, which I'll talk about briefly, he seems like a really nice guy. So Rob Paulson, pretty much, you've heard his voice before. He's been in a lot of things. So I think his most famous early role was Raphael in the Ninja Turtles. So he's been around since the 80s. He also plays Wacko. That's another one of his iconic roles. He also plays, for my generation, Carl Weezer in Jimmy Neutron. He also played, well, he's been around the block. He's the Bots Ghost in Danny Phantom. He played a lot of roles in Fairly Odd Parents too. I can't think of a particular one, but he was Chaz, the green alien dude, the green octopus alien dude. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know if you watch Fairly Odd Parents. Okay,
no,
yeah,
it's okay.
But he's been around the block for a really long time, and one of the things I admire about his voice is he has a lot of range. So like we talked about characters that have. Or sorry, actors that have similar voices but approach them differently. Rob Paulson, I can hear his voice, but like he has a lot of range that it gets a little bit hard to tell. So like his Carl Weezer is so different from his Wacko. Like I think you're probably surprised. I heard that you were surprised when you heard that he played Carl Weezer, because it's so different from his other roles.
Yeah.
And his Raphael is pretty much his normal voice, but his Raphael is different from his Donatello in the newer Ninja Turtles show. I think the 2012 CGI show, like they sound similar because it's the same person, but it's a different inflection. Like he sounds a little bit more like shrill and more unsure of himself because, you know, he's Donatello is like a nerdy guy, whereas when he plays Raphael, he's more snarky and sarcastic. And like he's just a very great voice actor. He also did I don't know if you grew up with VeggieTales.
I did, yes.
You did. Yeah, he actually played a couple characters in the VeggieTales cartoon, because I guess he is a Christian or something like that.
Huh.
But yeah, he's also just a really nice guy. He I don't know if you heard of the podcast Talking Tunes with Rob Paulson. No, well, it's a podcast where he talked to like all these voice actors. He did one with Phil LaMarche. I can't remember his name. He played Brain, who he's also Pinky in Anime XOL. But he whoever the voice actor for Brain was, he did a podcast episode with him, and they would basically just talk about being voice actors. And at the end of each episode, they would like do a little skit where they would basically do like adult versions of their characters, and like just going like little scenarios. So like, for example, he did a podcast episode with the guy that voices Zim. I can't think of his name. But it was a pretty funny bit where it was his Wacko and Zim talking to each other, and like I don't remember how it started, but if somehow they transported to hell, and they just like started talking about how they're in hell, and it was really off the wall. It was really fun. I have to show you that clip, but yeah, no, his podcast is very, very nice. The only like kind of weird thing that he did was he would talk about like some weirdly sexual stuff between like the girl voice actresses doing like boy voices and like the voice actors doing girl voices and like saying how they were like, you know, doing stuff, and that was kind of weird. And he made other comments like that too, but other than that, he seems like a pretty good guy. He might get canceled in a couple years, so I might have to edit it out. But other than that, he's a pretty chill guy. He's kind of like the cool, like, great uncle, something like that. That's kind of how I envision him. But yeah, yeah. Do you are you familiar with Rob Paulson or?
I'm not. I think it's just I missed the shows that you mentioned. So sorry.
You're good. Like, did you not hear me say the shows?
No, you did. But I mean, I missed in terms of I didn't actually watch those.
I got you.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's done stuff that you've heard of or seen. I just can't see him right now. But yeah, no. Did you get your next actor ready?
I did. So one of my favorite cartoons is Steven Universe. I don't know. Also fills me with great happiness.
That's definitely a show that definitely filled me with happiness too for a solid month, and then I just started to get tired of it. But I'll get into that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So Sarah Egan, Susan Egan? No, I do like her too. Yeah, no, Susan Egan. She plays Rose Quartz. So for those of you who don't know, she's Steven's mom. Mm-hmm. But she was also Megara in Hercules. She's done a lot of other things as well.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And it just, I don't know. She has an incredible voice, obviously, but it's just, again, kind of like who was the, I feel so bad. The played Susie, that actress.
Susie, is she a
Susie Carmichael? Who was? We talked about her just before.
Susie Cree Summer.
Yeah, Cree Summer. So it's kind of like that. She has this cool voice that there's just this, like, I don't know. I'm really bad with words.
No, you're good.
In this thing, but she just emulates this coolness, this cool girl, and this warmth in her voice that just, to me, she really stands out. So I just, like, when I think of Hercules, not only do I think of the great music, but I think of Megara. It was really cool. Really good.
I agree.
But also in, like, Steven Universe, so for those you don't know, Rose Quartz isn't always there, but when she is there, it's kind of like more into the backstory.
She's dead. That's why she's not always there. She's in the flashbacks.
Okay,
that's
a spoiler.
That's not a spoiler. It's in the first episode. That's not a spoiler. Go ahead.
You know, but like when she's there, it definitely like fills more into like the overarching story. And so not only do you pay attention, but I felt I paid more attention to that character. And I do think it's also not just the writing, but also the performance that she gave. And then I almost at least once a month listen to the song from Hercules that she sings. So she's constantly in my mind.
Yeah, and I will say I haven't seen Hercules in like maybe 2 or 3 years, but I do admire Susan's interpretation of Megan, because I think up to that point most Disney princesses and most Disney heroines kind of had like a similar like inflection or tone about them.
Voice. Yeah,
exactly. They're either like the very like damsel in the stress type, or they're very like smart but like are still very like dainty and like, you know, girly and all that stuff. Megan is not like that at all. She's very like you either deal with my shit or I'm out or something like that. You know, she's very like take it or leave it, and she doesn't put with anyone's crap, even though she's in a situation where she has to. But I think Megan was a very unique character, and I think the majority of reason why she is a very unique character is because of Susan Egan's performance. Mm-hmm. But did you want to talk about the Steven Universe actors? Because I mean we can.
Sure.
Because I'll before you go into it, I did want to say one of the things I admire about Steven Universe is they don't use voice actors are in like the voice acting guild. So like even though it was airing at the same time as very high profile shows, it's up there with like Adventure Time, Regular Show, all that stuff. They don't use a lot of like the typical voice actors that we've talked about. All of them are pretty much new, and their careers have been launched off because of this show, which I admire. So like for example, the voice actress for Sadie, Kate Kate Mikiki, Katie Mikiki. I can't pronounce her name, but if you look her up, you know what I'm talking about.
Coochie? I'm not sure. I think
Coochie. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't yell that. Anyway, I don't think she had another voice acting role. I know she was in Big Bang Theory, but I don't think she had another voice acting role like she did in Steven Universe, and now she's the official voice for Velma. Not the current Velma that's on TV right now. Not the new Velma that everyone hates.
Kaylin.
Yeah, no, that's.
Not the for Mindy Kaling, just for the show.
Like the actual Velma. She's the official voice of the actual Velma that we know and love, and I think her voice suits that character as well. She's also Webby from DuckTales, and I think this show definitely springboarded her career off of that. But yeah, I'll let you talk about Steven Universe, and I'm gonna tear it apart.
Sure. Gosh. Yeah. No. Kate, she definitely is one of those voices too, where we kind of talked about this, that her voice that she uses is her voice.
Right.
But of course she inflects really well and just does great stuff with it. I knew her before from like Garfunkel and Oates and some other skits and stuff that she did before. Yeah, she just, I don't know. I think the thing that I really found interesting about Steven Universe is, so there's a lot of songs in there, and I would turn to my sister and I'm like, those notes aren't they're not right. Like they're not perfectly, like when they sing or even when they act, it just feels so natural. Like, sometimes it feels like off key or just, this sounds terrible, but I'm getting to the point where it's not. But I would just be confused. And my sister's like, you don't have to be perfect. Like you don't have to sing every note perfectly, especially when you're a character. So like,
right.
Of course the dad sings, or for those who watch, Greg Universe, he sings, but he just is kind of this guy who's like, I want to sing and have a van or whatever. And I just thought that was really interesting because growing up, I definitely lived, my mom is very much a perfectionist. And so like when I'd practice piano or practice my singing or whatever, if it wasn't perfect, even in the act of practicing, I would hear it. And I get, still to this day, I get so hard on myself. And I think that's why it took me until my 30s to even consider pursuing anything performance-wise, because of this level of perfection that I thought you had to have to even to have people hear you practicing. And I want to encourage anyone who feels that way, that's not how you should be. And so I think the show also helped me realize that. Like this is an amazing show that's beloved by all, and the notes aren't always what I would assume what they should be. I think that's great. But I still think the songs are fantastic and sung really well. And so that's a note. I don't know if you have anything to add to that part.
Yeah, no, the songs are fantastic. They're some of the best songs in any cartoon and any TV show. Particularly the movie alone, the soundtrack slaps. I downloaded Spotify for the first time just to listen to the soundtrack for the Steven Universe movie. That inspired me to sing. That's how good it was. And I'm not a singer. I used to hate singing in church, stuff like that. But that inspired me to want to actually sing and consider that to be a something that I could do. But yeah, no, I think all the voice actors and actresses in that show give it 110% at everything they did do, whether it's singing, whether it's acting. It's a very well acted show. My only issue with Steven Universe is the writing.
That's fair.
And that's totally different from the voice acting, and we don't have to get into that tangent. But yeah, no, I definitely latched on to the Steven Universe characters like you did when the show first came out. And it was mostly due to the voice actors and how they brought those characters to life. So I think Steven Universe is a very rare example of a show that doesn't have, because we both watch a lot of cartoons. We both hear the same actors and actresses in all those cartoons, and that's fine. And I've grown to love hearing those voices because I know that we're gonna get a good performance out of those characters. But it's really cool that Rebecca Sugar casted people who aren't in that world, because Estelle is she voices Garnet. I don't think she had an acting role before this. She's a British rapper. I think if you don't know who Estelle is, she's the person that she's most famous for American Boy. I think that's the single that pretty much put her on the map. But Yeah, she voices Garnet, and she pretty much nails it. I mean, granted, Garnet is a very stoic character, and that doesn't take as much like effort. Not effort. That's a bad thing to say. It's she made Garnet sound cool.
So I will add to your note about the stoic characters. So if you watch, for instance, like Gundam, it's like, it's the orphans storyline for Gundam.
Oh, mobile Gundam orphan. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so there's a character in there who is very like almost monotone, right? But I was taking a voiceover workshop, and this guy chose that as his scene to practice. And like our teacher said, like, yeah, it sounds monotone, but it actually takes so much for you to care when someone is like kind of flat. It takes a lot to, like, you have to hold back this emotion, and like that's something that you hear. So like Garnet sounds, like you said, like kind of like whatever and just flat. And I know that you have feelings about the writing, but I do think that to have it be something that you're not like, I want to tune this out, or like Ferris Bueller, like Bueller, that does definitely take a level of experience and also care and talent.
Yeah, for sure. And that was her first voice acting role, and that's crazy. And like the main character, Steven Universe himself, Zach Callison, that was his first role too, and he did an amazing job. And I actually admired his voice acting as he got older, because I think when he was first cast as his role, he was like a little kid.
Yeah. So he's actually a on-screen actor first, and then became.
Was he? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're right. Sorry.
I have weird knowledge about things.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, and he actually has done some voice acting roles before. He was in Scooby-Doo Incorporated. He was Billy Batson in one of the Superman cartoons in 2010. So he's had some voice acting roles, but Steven Universe was his first like main character role. Yeah. And what I love about his voice is that when he got older, he actually made his voice higher, and it actually still sounded like he was a little kid. It sounded like he was older, granted, but it still sounded like he was a little kid. And I think like that takes a lot of talent to do, obviously. So I admire the cast of Steven Universe so well, and I'm so glad they're finding more work. I think the voice actress for Amethyst, she was in like she's in the Owl House. She plays a character in the Owl House. She also played someone in one of the Adventure Time spinoff Distant Land cartoons. And I don't know if the voice actress for Pearl is doing anything right now, but like all of them are great actresses and actors, and I hope they do some amazing things in the future. But yeah, did you want to add on to Steven Universe? I think we're about to run out of time for this segment.
I'm good.
Yeah, cool. So I guess I have a lot of other actors I want to talk about, but since we only have like 4 minutes left in the segment, I'll save the one I really want to talk about for last. So sure. I actually have two, but
roll a dice. See which one.
Yeah. I'll talk about this guy, Alex Hirsch. So yes. Alex Hirsch, he's a voice actor, but he's more known for his for creating Gravity Falls, which is probably one of my favorite shows of all time. Right there, up there with the Avatar, or like that's it. I don't really watch that much TV, but yeah, Gravity Falls is an amazing show, and Alex Hirsch is a very talented guy. He's also written for a lot of other shows, and voice acted for a lot of other shows too. And he's basically the Seth MacFarlane of Gravity Falls, where and I know Abby, probably you don't like that comparison because you.
Oh no, it's a good comparison.
But
yeah.
It's true. Like he pretty much voiced like half the main cast. He was Gronkel Stan, who's like the Gronkel of Dipper and Mabel, like pretty much the
grandfather for those who don't. The
grandfather of them. Yeah. He's also Seuss Ramirez, who's the main comic relief. He was Old Man McGucket, who's like another comic relief. He's also the main antagonist, Bill Cipher. Which funny story about that. He was actually gonna get someone else to voice him. I can't remember the actor's name. I think he was a very high profile actor. But I guess they couldn't get him, so he just did an impression of him, and I think he did an amazing job as the main antagonist of the show. Mm-hmm. And he also voiced like all of other characters. He was also Clementa in Fish Hooks, Toby Matthews in Rick and Morty. I don't remember that character actually, but he's also King. That's probably his most famous role in Owl House. King is like this little cute anthropomorphic character. He's pretty much the mascot character of the show. He's a little more important than that, and you'll see as you watch the show. I won't spoil what his role is in that show. But yeah, he voices King in that show. He's also Hootie, who is the Owl House in that show. And I personally don't love Hootie, but I know a lot of people love Hootie. So
you don't
he's
love
that too.
Hootie?
Yeah, I don't really like him that much. I think he's a little annoying. I see why people like him, but I think he's a little too much.
I think he is annoying, and I think that's why he's so great.
Yeah, it's probably. I love his relationship with the owl lady. I can't remember her name. I love his relationship with her sister.
Yeah.
But other than that, I can leave him. He's not my favorite character. But yeah, Alex Hirsch is a very talented man, very talented writer, and reason why I admire him so much is I mentioned before that I would love to make my own kids show one day, if anyone will let me write for them. But I also would love to voice that for a kids show if anyone will let me do that as well.
Same.
And I just admire people who create shows and also just become the characters that they write, and I would prefer to do that over voice acting for a random show. And granted, there's a lot of voice actors who do just voice act for random shows, and it ends up they end up striking gold because like the character and the show that they voice act in happen to break out hits and stuff like that. But I would rather make that breakout hit and also be a character that someone can latch on to, because I feel like if you create a show and you're also like an actor into it, I feel like people can automatically latch on to you because they recognize your voice because you're that character. So like J.G. Quintel, he's not like a very amazing voice actor. He only does like his voice, but like he's Mordecai in regular show, and he also created regular show. So whenever I see J.G. Quintel and hear him talk, I'm like, oh, that's Mordecai, and it's cool that he's in the show and he also made the show and stuff like that. So, and unlike what's his face who made The Simpsons, I should know his name because he's a pretty popular guy. Hang on. Matt Groening, I think it's his name. Matt Groening, yeah. He's also a very talented guy, and a lot of people are inspired by the show, including Alex Hirsch. But like, I can't really latch on to him like I do Alex Hirsch or not Greg Quintel, JG Quintel. Oh, that's my timer. Sorry. JG Quintel, because he doesn't really voice act in his shows, which is fine. Like that's not like a requirement, but that's kind of like a personal thing for me because I'm weird. But yeah. Did you have anything else to add to Alex Hirsch? Because I know you love Gravity Falls too.
I do love Gravity Falls. I thought it was so. I didn't realize like when I was watching the show that the creator also voiced him and like Runkle Stan, and I was like, what? They're the same person. And really Bill Cipher. Yeah. Yes. Oh man. Oh, I get nightmares still. No. It's just really cool, and like you can feel that he's having so much fun with those characters. So I think obviously a lot of that I'm sure comes from not only is Dipper like him, based off of himself, but they're also really fun characters, really well written. Not on the topic of voice acting, but just on Alex, I think I just really admire him. Like I thought that the show was so good. I watched it after it had finished airing, but Disney had offered to let him continue the show, and he's like, no, I've come to a point where the show is done. And I thought that for any creator, especially, I'm sure that's a lot of money, like that's a really big thing to do, know where your story is, where it's going, and like where it should end. And so one, I think it's amazing that he got to the end point, because that doesn't always happen for all creators, but two, that he saw the vision for the show and was able to do that. But also seems like a really cool dude. So
yeah, I admire that too. And like I listened to some of his director's commentary for some of the episodes, and just the way he thinks about the characters, it sounds like they're actual people. And like some of the episodes, like I just remember him talking about how he wanted the characters to like struggle and learn a lesson, and like just all the things he went and all the mental hurdles he went to just to write that one episode, that one 30-minute episode. It's just really cool to hear. And like that's just the attention to detail that I want to get to, or that I want to have whenever I'm making anything, whether it's my video essays on YouTube or a show, if I eventually make that. So I also admire his work effort and just the talent that he has, and I hope he does great things. He's actually I don't know if you remember this, but he's actually going to be making another show for Netflix. Don't know when it's coming out, but that's still in the works. So
I guess we should be on the lookout for that. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But did you want to talk about one more voice actor before we move on to our next segment, or?
No, I'm good. We can go to the next part.
Okay, cool. Also, another fun fact about Alex Hurst, which I think was probably like an amazing experience for him to do. Uh, Bill Cipher was actually in an episode of The Simpsons, and they got him back to voice that character. So I just can't imagine, because like The Simpsons was one of his major inspirations for Gravity Falls. In fact, a lot of people actually say Gravity Falls is pretty much The Simpsons meets X Factor. So I can't imagine like the field day he had in his head, like when they asked him to voice at one of his own characters on the show that he like grew up and was influenced by. Like I can't imagine like how happy he was to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, so the last thing we're gonna do. So I usually like to end these podcast episodes with like a fun little game or like a little like mental exercise for my my co-hosts to torture them. And since Abby is not good with names, apparently, I thought it'd be fun to do a little voice acting game where I would name off some characters that I looked up, or either looked up and knew off the top of my head, and see if she knows the voice actors or actresses that played them.
Can I ask, because I am
ahead.
bad with names, can I like say what I think it's from if I don't know the name?
Or I'll say the character. You have to name the voice actor.
Oh dang it!
So,
okay.
Yeah, we'll see. So I'll start off easy. So this is a character that everyone knows, and the actor that plays him is also very well known if you're into voice acting. The original voice actor for Bugs Bunny.
Is it Mel Blanc?
Yeah, Mel Blanc.
Cool.
Yeah, the guy that I think he's the man of 1,000 voices. He voiced Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, I'm about to say Peppa Pig, Porky Pig, Tweety Bird, Sylvester, like all the Looney Tunes. Like he's pretty much all the Looney Tunes before he passed away.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So this is a character that's very personal to me because he is me. Perry the Platypus. Do you know who that is?
I actually know what the person looks like, but I don't know who it is. No. Okay. I also didn't watch the show.
Aw, that's insulting to me.
It was a little bit. I was a little too old for it. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Phineas and Ferb was literally my life. Obviously, it is because it's literally my PFB. But his name, the voice actor's name is D. Bradley Baker. So he's another voice actor I admire because he not only does like traditional voice acting, but he also does a lot of just like animal and creature noises. So he's actually also the voice of Appa and Momo in Avatar: The Last Airbender. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes,
yeah, like he made those voices, and he also voices Perry the Platypus, which is just that little growling that I can't do, which is probably sacrilegious because I'm Perry the Platypus.
I feel like I should say something because I keep saying like, I was too old for that. I clearly still watch children cartoons now, but I feel like there's a period of my life that I did stop watching cartoons because they were too young for me. So
got you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I feel like Phineas and Ferb was definitely. I feel like we can watch that as an adult, but that's more so. I think if you watch Phineas and Ferb as an adult now, it's more so you used to watch it as a kid and you're appreciating like the jokes that you miss as an adult.
I think that's what it is. I think it's the humor. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah.
It's very clever writing, but like. I feel that is more of a kid's show compared to like Adventure Time or regular show, where that is a show. Those are shows that you can watch and enjoy as an adult, especially regular show because that was pretty much an adult show disguised as a kid's show. So, but yeah. Okay, next person. So this is an anime character from Sword Art Online, Asuna Yuki. Do you know who that is?
Is that a character?
Yeah, her name is Asuna. That's the character.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
She's
I don't know the character at all either.
Oh, you haven't seen Sword Art Online?
Yes, but I was really mad when the second season started, so I just kind of put it out of my memory.
That's fair. She's yeah, that's fair. Me too. She's the main girl. She's Kirito's girl.
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
Kirito's. Yeah.
That one too. I watched subtitled, so
I got you. Okay, yeah. So. The actor's name is God. Hang on.
Hold on. You said Sword Art.
Shirami Leia. I should probably choose people that can actually pronounce her names. Shirami Leia. She's in a lot of anime, and she's also in a lot of video games. She played Makoto in Persona 5. She's also the female version of V in Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh yes.
You play that? Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, she's also Lucy in Fairy Tail, and that is all the ones I feel like reading because she's in a lot of stuff. Cool. Yeah, I chose that one because I don't know. I just chose a random anime because I knew we watched more anime than Alright, so cartoons. So this one's actually more so a did you know more so than like an actual question. So, Brother Bear from Bernstein Bears. Oh. Bernstein Bears. Do you know what that is?
that's the question. Bernstein. I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember it with an
Mandela effect. Yeah. Do you know who voiced the Brother Bear?
I remember hearing that like it was voiced by someone, like it was a big deal, but no, I don't. I'm gonna look it up. Who is it? You can tell me while I look it up.
Yeah, Michael Cera.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually just found out today. I was looking up like random BuzzFeed articles of you won't believe who voiced this character, and that actually surprised me. I didn't believe that. That's kind of crazy that he voiced that. And now he's like he's a very high profile actor. I don't remember. He was in the Network, right? That he voiced, or sorry, he played Mark Zuckerberg, right? Or is that the other guy?
That's someone else. No, he was Scott Pilgrim versus
Scott Pilgrim. Yeah. Sorry, that was
It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
I sometimes know names.
Who played Mark Zuckerberg in the Network?
Oh gosh.
Hang on. Jesse Eisenberg. That's his name. Jesse Eisenberg. I get them mixed up all the time. My bad.
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next person. You seen Howl's Moving Castle, right? The Studio Ghibli film.
Yes, but again, I've watched that with subtitled.
Dang.
But
okay.
maybe.
Well,
no, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen it, but the character name Howl, I'm assuming he's a wolf. Do you know who voiced him?
He's not a wolf.
Oh, who's Howl?
Howl he's a man who sometimes turns into a bird, but
I was
that's a little bit of spoiler. Very good. It's on HBO. You should watch it.
Yeah, I need to. I haven't seen any Studio Ghibli films. That's a crime. I need to watch them.
I know that the character for the English dub was Christian Bale.
Okay, so you knew that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I didn't watch the movie, but I actually found out recently as well on I mentioned Trash Taste, which I feel like you should watch. I think you will like that podcast. They basically talk about whatever. They act like they're an anime podcast, but they really just talk about just living in Japan and stuff like that. But they talked about Studio Ghibli films, and they said that Christian Bale was in it. And I was like, oh, whoa, that's kind of cool because Christian Bale is like a super high profile actor now. Yeah. That was probably before he was Batman, but it's kind of crazy that he was in an anime.
So I think what's interesting about the this is just an interesting fact for the Studio Ghibli is Disney got the rights to distribute them in the United States, and so they typically had pretty big actors for them. And I guess that's one of the thought process behind studios is like, oh, if you put a big actor, people will watch this. But as we discussed, sometimes that doesn't always translate to good performances.
Yeah.
But I thought I might have. I don't think I've watched it, so I don't know. I have nothing to say.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. I knew that, I knew Disney did that on purpose so people would actually watch their films. But I thought it was just like their Disney Channel actresses and actors that they got instead of actual high profile actors like Christian Bale, because I remember seeing trailers for Secrets of Amity.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that I can't remember the actress's name, but she's the main character in Good Luck Charlie. She was Amity. They got her to voice at Amity. So I just thought they got their Digi Channel actors. I didn't realize they got
Secret of Arrietty.
Secret Arrietty, yeah, Arrietty, yeah. Again, haven't seen it.
Yeah,
because I don't watch.
It's really good. It's cute.
Yeah. I need to watch. I need to just take a day where I just binge watch all the Studio Ghibli films because I feel like I'm long overdue for that. But yeah, no, I didn't realize they hired actual high profile actors. That's pretty cool. Okay, this one's kind of a weird one. So did you grow up with? I feel like you would like Danny Phantom. Did you grow up with Danny Phantom?
I did not.
Aw. That makes me sad.
I babysat, watched it, but I didn't.
I got you. I actually technically didn't grow up with it as it was airing either because my parents didn't want to, strict Christian or quote unquote strict Christian household. Or, they didn't want me to watch things where, people die and they don't go to heaven and things like that. Even though I think, the creator of Fairy Light Parents and Danny Phantom, he was a born again Christian, so I think he retconned the Phantom Zone, which is like where all the ghosts come from, and that's like I think all the ghosts are from a different dimension instead of like if you die you go to the ghost zone because he doesn't want people thinking that there's another place besides heaven and hell because I'm a born again Christian, but there's nothing wrong with that. But like it was retconned. I think in the show it was very much implied that if you died in the real world you go to the ghost zone, and then he changed that to be it's just another dimension. Haha, just kidding. But yeah, no. So I guess I'll say the actor's name. His name is David Kaufman. He's only done, I think, 2 major roles. I don't know if you watched a show called Freakazoid. No. Okay. Well, it's a really weird show. Made by the same people, or animated by the same people that animated the Batman animated series, but also written by the people that made Animaniacs. So it's kind of a weird mixture of the two. Oh, cool. And it's very much like it's a superhero show, and the main character named Freakazoid basically makes all these pop culture references like Deadpool. He's basically like Deadpool in the 90s. That's essentially what Freakazoid is. Okay. And his alter ego was this kid named I don't remember his name, I think Dexter, and he was voiced by David Kaufman, who voices.
I'm looking at it now. I have seen some episodes. My cousins watched it, and I was like, "Oh, this isn't for me."
Yeah, it's definitely a weird show, but I liked it. It definitely scratched my funny bone. I don't know if you know who Nostalgia Critic is. Doug Walker.
Say that again.
Nostalgia Critic, Doug Walker. No, you don't know who that is.
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. Yeah, never mind. He's a old YouTuber that people don't respect anymore, but he makes like video essays and stuff like that. But he made little skits around them, and Freakazoid's kind of like Nostalgia Critic but better. But yeah, okay. The next one you should probably be able to get. So he is the voice actor for Peter Parker and Spider-Man in the Spider-Man PS4 video game. He also voiced a lot of anime characters.
I never actually looked to see who voiced him. That makes me terrible.
Oh, no, you're good.
I mean, I love the hell out of those games, but I don't know.
Yeah. Great voice actor. Yuri Lowenthal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, the first time I heard his voice was actually in the Ben 10, Alien Force, and Ultimate Alien cartoons. And I grew up with those shows as opposed to the original Ben 10, which everyone says that's better, but I thought it was worse because I grew up with this more serious Alien Force and Ultimate Alien. But yeah, no,
there's more than one Ben 10?
Oh, you didn't know?
I mean, I didn't watch them, so I just
just hearing, that makes sense. Yeah, no, there's multiple. I think there's 5 Ben 10 shows.
Wow. Huh.
And like 3 of them were in the original universe, and then they rebooted it for the 5th one.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Yeah, so. But yeah, when Ben was a teenager, and the next 3 after the original Ben 10, where he was 10 years old, Ben became a teenager. And when he was a teenager, he was voiced by Yuri Lowenthal instead of Tara Strong when he was a kid.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so, I mean, it depends on if you like the original Ben 10, where it's more silly and episodic compared to like the more serious ones that they did in Alien Force and Ultimately Alien. But yeah, I forgot. Yeah, there's a point in time where you stopped watching kids cartoons, so you probably didn't watch kids cartoons until between the 2000s and 2010. That's probably when you dropped off.
Or right? What I will say is the kids cartoons I were watching were very like specific ones. So like I still watched Arthur. And and like I guess like the stuff that I liked when I was a kid, and like my sister's younger than me, so I would watch some cartoons. So like if she didn't really care for it, then I wouldn't watch it. So she didn't care for SpongeBob. Not to call her out, but
no, I mean you already called yourself out, so I mean the pictures are already coming for you. So I'm just kidding. But okay, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, the last one is probably useless too, because You probably didn't watch Kim Possible, right?
I did watch Kim Possible.
Oh,
Christy
awesome.
Carlson Romano is the voice of Kim, and she's the big sister on Steven. What's it called? Even Steven.
Oh, nice. I didn't know she was in Even Steven. That's oopsie on me. But actually, the character that I was gonna talk about is Shigo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know who Shigo is?
Wait.
Okay.
Do I? I'm trying to think.
She's a kind of a niche actress. If I'm being honest, I love her. I love her voice, and I'll get to why. But
okay. No, I don't remember, but I do know I did at some point know who it was.
Yeah, her name is Nicole Sullivan. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm looking at her. Yeah, she's a really funny actress.
Yeah, she is. And the reason why I love her voice is because she was also Mira Nova in the Buzz Lightyear 2D cartoon. Mm-hmm. And I watched that religiously, as I probably said on this podcast a bunch of times. And actually, in my Buzz Lightyear review, I said that I watched that show religiously. Mm. And, I latched onto her voice because I just thought Mira was such a cool character. And like every time I heard her voice, even if I didn't know who she was, I'll always think of Mira when I heard it. So,
nice.
Yeah, Nicole Sullivan is a great voice actress. But yeah, so that is the last question, and that's going to be the end of this episode of the podcast. Thank you, Abby, for joining. Did you want to make any more points or plug your stuff or say anything you want to about anything?
I want to first apologize to anyone who was not happy that I didn't watch as many cartoons.
No, you're good.
No, I had a lot of fun. Thank you for having me, and yeah, just keep watching and playing great content out there. Listen to the voice actors.
Yeah. Wait, were you talking to me or the audience?
To both. I know you do, but to the audience.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for joining. I really appreciate you taking your time out your schedule to do this. Hopefully we'll maybe do another episode if you want to. We'll have to figure out what we'll talk about. But yeah, I know voice acting was your whole thing. So, and I love voice acting as well. And, I thought it would be fun to do an episode with you. But, yeah, thank you guys for watching. Follow Abby on Twitch, and you have a YouTube channel, right?
I mean, I try. Not really. Okay. It's the same name, but no, not really.
I got you. I'll plug your Twitch channel in the comments. But yeah, follow her on Twitch. She's very, very funny, very entertaining. I know she has an inconsistent schedule, but when she does stream, it's pretty hype. So I think she's a very talented person, very unique person. So I think anyone will enjoy watching her stream, and of course, yeah. Thank you for coming. Thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you guys in the next podcast or video or whatever you're watching on. Later. Bye.